That the sound of a
Okay, you may have an alert there too.
yeah.
And let me check one more thing and hopefully we're good. Hopefully.
Fabulous.
Maybe not. I'm sure. I think so. I have should I say I have a good feeling? Well, I need to test. So here we go. Maybe not. I think we're good. I think we're good. All right, ladies and gentlemen, you're listening to Louis B. Free Radio Show, Brain Food from the Heartland. I have three wonderful guests with me this morning, and I'm going to start with my dear friend, Jessica Popio. Jessica, good morning to you.
Good morning, Louie. It's always a pleasure to be on your show and
Always a pleasure.
to see you smiling.
Always a pleasure. Always a pleasure. A little bit about yourself, and then I'm going to have you introduce the guys, if you will.
So my name is Jessica Popio. Louie and I met about 8 years ago. Very interesting story. I was the owner of Liberty Tax Service Franchises and was helping with another veterans group. And I came in to studio in my Liberty Tax Lady Liberty costume. And
It's great. Lady Liberty, I remember.
Since sold my tax franchises last January with my partners and have been delving into being able to help people in a better capacity. So, I stumbled across Jeff, met him last year. Jeff has had been in the same platoon and unit that a high school friend of mine had been in. And when he sat down and talked with me about the vision of what he was creating and that the platoon was new. So, the Rochester platoon was in its infancy stages then. It was probably only a month in. I told him I'd get behind it in any way that I could. And, here it was several months later that I've been traveling back and forth to Rochester just because of the leadership within the group, the sense of unity and community. Have met amazing individuals like Phil Bauer here. He will not probably advertise it. I recently learned that he is also a Purple Heart recipient. These gentlemen were both in service and sacrificed much more than anyone can. I didn't get to serve. This is my way of serving, is being able to connect people.
I've just got to say, when I met you, you really threw me a lifeline with Liberty Tax. I was pretty desperate. I was very desperate for some help, and I'll never forget that. I have to say that. I always have to put that in. So introduce the guys.
So we'll start with our platoon leader, our fearless leader, Geoffrey Messenger of Rochester platoon. Started the mission continues there. And once he's introduced himself, we'll talk with Phil Bauer. Philip is also from Rochester and in the Mission Continues. He's actually been with Mission Continues for over 10 years doing things in DC. Both these gentlemen had just completed a mass deployment project, which is they both went to Chicago and were able to just connect with thousands of Mission Continues veterans and non-military civilian volunteers to coordinate a mass cleanup effort around the city of Chicago. And the things that they do for the community are absolutely wonderful. Just like Liberty Tax had serviced underserved populations and provided education, Jeff and Phil are out there every day talking with veterans, connecting them with resources, and being able to, at the forefront, I feel, really help empower people. So,
Geoffrey, good morning. Tell us a little bit about yourself.
Oh, thanks, Louie. And thank you so much for giving us the opportunity to get out here and put our message out. It's really an honor to be on your show. Thank you.
My honor. This is my honor. Your doggy, for listeners, I'm sorry. My listeners know I'm very easily distracted by animals. I see an animal. I got to ask, what's the doggy's name?
This is Obi. He's a 9-year-old boxer pit mix. He isn't a service dog, but he's definitely my emotional support dog. I've had him for about 3 years now. He was adopted.
Oh, good. Yeah, that's wonderful. That's wonderful.
But he's a total sweetheart. Very easy to take to the dog park. He gets along with all humans and all dogs. So he's just been a real easy dog.
Looks like a sweetie. When I saw your Facebook page, I realized that you're a big guy like me, right?
Only recently. Yeah. And I was actually in high school, so real skinny. Didn't really play too many sports, and I got into the gym really mostly in 2012, and kind of turned my life around with that. Really, at the time, it was. So I'll do my intro, I guess, to
Yeah,
get into
go
that a
ahead.
little bit. So United States Marine Corps, 2000 to 2004. Significance. I mean, so I was there during 9/11. My group was one of the last pre 9/11 groups to come through. So people who didn't sign up as a result of 9/11, in other words. Yeah, so I was there. The entire world changed. Obviously we were directly affected by what was going on. Didn't know where it was coming from or anything, but knew that we were going to be the ones to do something about it. So it was interesting to be alive and witness, just how, especially career Marines, because I was new, how their whole, they were being kind of hard on us up to that point, and then the whole attitude switch, and it was just like, older brothers kind of looking out for you. We're all in this together. It was very that united feeling, and that's what we're doing right now. Actually, with Mission Continues, is our United in Service campaign as a result of that time period. So I got out in 2004. And I struggled with PTSD for a long time, and I treated my PTSD with drugs and alcohol for a long time. And I went down that rabbit hole as far down as it goes, really, to inpatients and getting arrested on small crimes. And eventually, through a long story that maybe for another time, I wound up doing a year in prison in 2012. And during that year was when I got into the gym. That was when, and I had bits and pieces here and there, like in the Marine Corps and things like that. But that was where I started doing it daily. And my health had been so bad at that point, just because of how I've been living, how I've been eating, and everything. That's, it affects everything. Your entire every second of your day, basically. So and I basically hit the reset button there. As far as eating prison food, I tried to stay when I got out. I stayed eating healthy. Like I switched over my whites to wheats and did spinach instead of lettuce, things like that. And kind of cut fast food out in my life for a while too. So I really, and wow, I can't even imagine what life would have been like if I hadn't made those changes. Because there's been challenges here and there as is, but going to, having that check mark, that box checked off has really been a boost to like every single one of my days. So it's been, I'm happy to advertise that to anyone. I tell people who are just starting out, you're my heroes, especially, that person who's really overweight, but over there plugging away in the corner. I sit there and say, that's day one. I may see that person a year or 2 years from now, and they're going to look completely different and feel completely different. So I love that that part of my story can be inspiring for people, and I love sharing it. Also, during this time period, I should say, I got very involved in the recovery community as well. So I did go through AA and NA, but I met a lot of, and I did it from a veteran's perspective as well. So I came out of prison. I was in a halfway house for veterans called Richard's House. While I was there, I linked up with a crew of guys all around the same age as me, all veterans, all interested in going to the gym, basically, being around people who are in the same situation as you really makes life a lot easier and builds that camaraderie. So the group of us have definitely all made some very, very positive changes from thence on. And some of them went on actually to start a group we have in Rochester called Rock Covering Fitness, which is fitness for people who are in recovery. They do a lot of hikes, they do yoga, all kinds of different things. Please check out their website. My friend Sean Smith has also done another organization called AIR, which is Adventures in Recovery. They're in the southern tier, but they also do a lot of hikes, and they do a lot of camaraderie and a lot of group things and activities together. So please check them out as well. But yeah, they're a fascinating connection to have. And so I wound up relapsing myself and finally started seeking help for some of my past trauma. And that was where, and while I was there, I was talking to one of my counselors, and she was like, do you really like what you're doing right now? I was like, I kind of wish I was doing something more altruistic for my life. She was like, oh, there's this great organization called The Mission Continues.
Wow.
It's kind of like Habitat for Humanity, blah, blah, blah. You have to put in an application. And I was like, oh, that sounds exactly like what I want to do. So I put in the application, and I kind of just gave the background that I just gave you, as a recovering addict and a person who's been to prison, things like that. And they accepted me into the organization, into their service leadership corps. which is basically 6 months. It was online training at the time because it was during COVID, but 6 months of online leadership training about how to interact with the community, what the Mission Continues is, what our mission is, what we're trying to do out there, the people who are with us. And I was impressed from the start. It's a very high caliber group of people, like really, really talented, inspirational people who are motivated to be out in their communities doing good, basically, because that is kind of what we do. We pair veterans, and I'm going to say this one time because we are for non-veterans, but clearly it's a veteran-led group and it's a very strong veteran edge to it, but we do welcome our non-veteran friends. I'm
going to get to Philip in just a minute, but tell me, Jeff, a little bit more about the organization, and it's missioncontinues.org, missioncontinues.org. Of course, I've got the links up also. You can go directly to missioncontinues.org. A little bit more about the organization.
Perfect. And so what we do basically is pair veterans up with under-resourced parts of the community to do community service, essentially. And if you think that sounds a little bit open-ended, I did too. And I think that's a good thing because obviously there's no like cookie cutter problems out there. They're obviously widespread and most of them are connected and things like that. But essentially, yeah, it's doing, as far as cleanups or doing murals or doing building gardens, putting all kinds of things into the city. And it is. It spreads positivity and joy, basically.
That's wonderful. Thank you for that. Philip, good morning to you.
Yes, sir.
Introduce
Good morning,
yourself.
Louis. How you doing?
My name is. Sorry.
My name is Phil Bauer, and I'm sorry that the whole reason why Champagne, come here. All right,
Phil has an awesome dog.
I have my own service dog, and I'm just trying to get her to look for a second.
Oh, gosh.
That is
horrible.
That is Miss Champagne, and that is actually what originally brought me and the Mission Continues together. Pardon me while I get back comfortable and at a good phone angle. Okay, let's see. January 01 02 was supposed to be my original day being sent to boot camp. Unfortunately, 9/11 had delayed that for about 3 months. I chose to stay in and join the Army. Unfortunately, in 2003, I was shipped to Iraq. We actually followed the first wave of Marines in, and I was there for about 8 months before I got sent on R&R. During the flight to Qatar from Al Asad Air Force Base, we were hit by a surface-to-air missile, about 200-foot bounce. Once I woke up, my feet were trapped underneath the roof housing. Fire started in the back. I was able to sort of coyote pull my left foot out, the right foot out. The right foot was stuck underneath some metal and just kind of became shish kebabbed. I am a right foot amputee because of fire damage, even though they tried to save it for a long time. Now, after that, I took my medical retirement. I went into the civilian world, and I probably spent about 5 to 8 years in the world's darkest places. I tried to destroy myself various times. Finally, I had a mental breakdown and went to go seek help for my PTSD and my dual diagnosis and everything else, because there wasn't nothing I wouldn't try to like get out of the mood I was in. So through the clinics, after the clinics got done, I spent like 6 months in a 3-month clinic for like PTSD, and I was just a complete wreck. But I feel much better now. Sorry. Anyway, after that, I got told about service dogs, and honestly, I had no clue they would work. I was incredibly skeptical. I ended up getting one, and I fell in love with the way that they used the inner city youth kids that were, either adjudicated out of foster care. You can imagine the tough situation they were there. So we would teach the kids the kids would teach the dogs, and then the dogs would get given to clients, and these kids would help train those clients with the dogs. So you could just see the growth in these kids were exponential. Through that, but before that, I had had a suicide attempt because I completely felt absolutely empty and worthless. There was, I served no purpose. There was nothing I could do. And I was just basically a drain on the world and wasting oxygen other people could use. Um, so, but in that process of ECAD, I was able to find that sense of purpose. Now, that's exactly where the mission continues came in. At that point, they were a fairly new non for profit, and they were paying actually very small living stipends so that like veterans could get into uh, non for profits and volunteering and making the world a better place by putting our leaders, our fresh out of the military leaders, in positions to help.
That's great.
Because our service didn't end with the fact that we took our uniforms off. And that is a constant striving thought process for me because I'm a great leader. I care about the community. I care about every. The I joined the military for the people who didn't have a voice. So that's just sort of my thought process on it. And I love the charity aspect of giving back, making the community better, showing that those people in those tiny communities that they matter, that they are thought of, that people actually care about how they're doing and want to make their place a better place, which then builds the community yeah, sure, pardon me, builds the community's sense of purpose, and then that can just keep growing. And as we keep going back to these areas, not only do they recognize and love us, but they start doing things on their own to make these communities better than themselves. And when we're there and they start seeing the blue shirts show up, they immediately start thanking us, and it's like, no sir, ma'am, we are here to help you. And they're like, no, you don't understand, just you being here makes us feel like we belong. And
Wonderful.
and I'm sorry, I know there's that selfish part of it, but everything that I get back in my heart from that giving helps keep me going that next day. It helps keeps me going because it allows me to know that I'm in this community, I'm helping, I'm working with everybody. And then you get 25 like-minded veterans on a project. Like, we become miracle workers because people say, oh, we've got to get 10 things done in 4 hours. Okay, well, it's an hour and a half later, we've done 10 things, now what do you got for us? And it's like, I love the fact that we can walk in, help, and just completely change an area with just, a small amount of people with the right intentions.
Yeah.
And I'm sorry if I'm just totally talking too long and
Let me ask you,
rambling on.
no, well, you're great. Let me ask you this though. And again, this is not me taking issue with you, but when
No,
you
no,
say
no, feel
selfish,
free.
when you say selfish, we say it's selfish, it's the cycle, it's the circle. You're getting by giving. I don't know that.
Right.
Yeah. So I just, I kind of bristled when you said selfish. I don't hear selfish in you. That's just me.
That's you'll have to forgive me. I have had 18 gosh darn years of therapy. So like I try to be aware of every possible scenario and every possible view. And I understand there is that little part of it that is completely selfish but that also feeds into that also helps with some of those like dual diagnosis things where, you know, it shows you it's okay to be a little selfish.
Yeah, I guess
So that you don't fall back into those same people, places, and habits.
Yeah, it's probably just semantics for me. When I hear selfish, it's hard to think of the way I think of selfish. You being selfish with all the giving and all the service that you've done. I get that I understand that you get back by giving, which people should. It's just that word. I don't know. Maybe I have more of a
and Louis, trust me,
not taking issue with you.
I'm one of those first people that I understand I am the hardest person on myself.
Yeah.
So that may be a word I need to look at, examine, and change in the story. But that's generally the word I choose.
It works for you. Yeah, it works for you. I understand. I appreciate that. So let's talk a little bit more. And Geoffrey, let me go back to you. In fact, let me ask you this, because you're all very giving people. I mean, I've known Jessica for years. And as I ask this question, I'm already thinking, I know this is probably a difficult question to answer. And I certainly wouldn't want someone asking me because I'd have to say, I don't know. But Jessica, where do you think it comes from in you to want to give to others? I'm coming to you guys next with the same, same question.
It is to get to the heart of it, Louis, and just to be totally honest, there are things that I've gone through in my life that I don't want another person to ever have to go through. You know that I lost Tim Gilmore, my partner in Liberty Tax Service. We were so involved in the community. We were so connected with the resources and helping and with giving. And when that stopped for him, he didn't continue it. I ran the Relay for Life teams. I coordinated with all the AMVETs and the services that we've done over the years. I've been doing taxes since I was 16 and just helping financially educate people so that they don't have to suffer through divorces and terrible fights throughout the month. And there are things in my past that I don't want anybody to ever have to live again. And my drive comes from trying to save just that one person from ever having to experience that. And I've for years been helping and working with veterans, and I didn't see the signs early enough in Tim to be able to help or stop him. And next year, the United in Service project to me it's an amazing way to be able to help, because as Phil had mentioned, the word selfish, but not just selfish, the giving back, the giving everything of yourself to be able to connect with another person and help them know that they matter.
That's beautiful. Thank you for sharing that.
Me, that's vitally important. Next year marks 22 years since 9/11 has happened, and our veteran suicide rate is, as Jan Brown says, it's reportedly a hell of a lot higher, pardon my French, than 22 a day, because they don't count overdoses and car accidents that are intentional. One is too many. Sure. And if we can diminish that number down, that's why I've worked with Jason Rutledge at Save 22 and Joe Chinelli and Jan Brown, the work that they did at AMVETS, while she was national commander, to bring awareness to the mental health aspect and to help prevent suicide.
That's wonderful. Wonderful. Geoffrey, same question. Where do you think it comes from in you?
Well, I was gonna say, even as a little kid, my mom called me her little social worker. So I've always kind of been that's kind of partly in my nature. It's also due just because I know through my recovery program that's what they say keeps us sober, is to get the service work and giving back. And I was trying to, I Phil, I completely understand that the whole conversation about being selfish. I've had this conversation in my mind, so it was interesting to hear it play out here, because it has also occurred to me that is altruism ultimately selfish, because I'm doing this because of the peace that it gives me. whatever. I get something out of it at least. I mean, we're not suckers doing this. I guess that's the point of that. We get something out of it. So, and yeah, and so I was overthinking that. And I think part of it for me is the genuine appreciation and connection I get with other human beings, especially so we're all bouncing off a successful event that we had on 9/4, which I know you've seen pictures of. We went down to the Trenton and Pamela Jackson Art Center, which is recreation center, basically a playground for kids. It needed a makeover when we first took a look at it. I love these art centers because they need exactly what we provide. It's one of those things, and I love the statement it makes. Something that just looks like a mess and is completely unfixable, and we go in there, we do a clean, we do weeding, and we repaint the hopscotch thing, and it looks like a brand new playground, and I feel like I want that to be a statement on people also, and, and just, everything else in the city. But one of the things that I've also technically, it was in a bad neighborhood, and one of my friends was giving me crap on the way up to this, like, oh, don't you know there was 4 murders there the other day, blah, blah, blah. And as veterans, it's a neighborhood in America. It's not Iraq. It is not Afghanistan. This is a neighborhood that's in America. These are our fellow Americans and citizens. Mm-hmm. So I felt like I did my due diligence as a leader leading up to this. I gave flyers to the individual apartments that were facing it. On the way, we had a DJ, and I asked him to play music the neighborhood would like. So it was one of those things where, and we were there to clean a playground for God's sake. I mean, it would be very bad for whoever did, you're going to be the guy who picked on some people who were cleaning a playground. Nobody wants to be that person. So point being, that was, and we're going back next Sunday. So that's the build up to this is we're going to be going back to do some finishing touches. Our DJ City will be back as well, and we have permission from the Art Center to be there. So some of their staff will be there also on hand. It's great. So yeah, I rambled on and on enough on this one question, I think, though.
No, it's great. I love what you said about your mom saying her little social worker. That's great. Philip, for you, again, we talked about giving, but where do you think the essence of that is in you?
Twofold, actually threefold. First of all, I think Jessica's entirely right. Part of the reason why I do this, part of the reason why I give back, part of the reason why I talk to people is so that nobody ever has to go down the route as a veteran that I have to. And that giving back part of it is actually what saved my life. And I also agree with Geoffrey because it's always been sort of a part of me growing up that I was that guy. But also I find out that a lot of that, just some of those same natural tendencies that took me into the military are the same ones that matter now, and that have put me in this situation of giving back, of caring about the community and doing everything within my power to motivate and get more people out there. And I mean, I don't want to say show people that there's a better way at that type. I don't want to go there, but it's like, you know what? Try it. You're gonna feel great. You're gonna move mountains, and you're gonna amaze yourself. And that's probably even too much over the question you actually asked.
That's great. I appreciate all three of you. The response is great. I love this self-analysis, I guess I would say, that you all have done, the deep look in the mirror, right?
Yeah.
Yes.
I do want to shout out to former federal prosecutor and amazing author, Meg Nossero in Florida, who is thanking you all for your service, and a dear friend of mine, Jack Colucci at the shop around the corner, who's veteran. Let's talk a little bit about how people can support the work of missioncontinues.org.
Rochambeau.
I'm not calling on anyone. You all have to figure that one out.
I'll start it. I'll be quick though. You can either join us on events, or there's also ways to donate, both to our local platoon and to the national Mission Continues, which is another thing I should have mentioned also, that Mission Continues national, big presence in a lot of the major cities. We're bringing it into Rochester. So this is the Rochester group starting up. And on that note, I will kick it to one of the other two.
Okay.
Okay. Well, let's see. I'm going to jump in. You can definitely check out the Mission Continues online for both the national organization. And if you look, that you will find that you may have a Mission Continues platoon somewhere near you. You can either help them, get involved, make contact, do all that type of stuff. If you want to continue to keep following us with Rochester, it's the Mission Continues Rochester platoon. We're there. We're very clearly public and work from there. And I don't know, Jessica,
Yeah.
what are we
Jessica.
missing?
So you guys are on the bottom of my screen, so I'm going to point down here. These gentlemen are actually in New York, which is 4 hours away from me. So when I go up to Rochester, I'm traveling. I always stop along Erie and see the water. Ask Jeff or Phil. I'm usually in the mornings watching my sunrises and sunsets on Ontario, either rollerblading or biking. It's a way for me to find my inner peace and do my journaling and my meditation. So it helps me with my other practices of life.
And quite the artist, I might add. Oh,
Thanks, Phil. I
Um,
didn't know about the
yeah.
artwork, Jessica.
I-
But go ahead.
as
Go
Phil-
ahead.
as
well,
Phil mentioned,
I just meant the photograph. She's got
Yes.
an eye for pictures.
Oh, that's
Yes,
great.
she does, among other things.
Well, thank you. Phil had mentioned I had mentioned earlier the Chicago work that they did. Yeah, they are a national organization, and we even had somebody from our national group come out to our event on the 4th, Ms. Autumn Schmoot, who was an amazing person, and I have to say, when everybody just jumped right in, they got they registered, they got their t-shirts. I said, okay, there are 3 departments you can pick, 1, 2, or 3. They got what they needed for that department and went off. And it wasn't even a culmination of let's think about this first or talk about this first. It was just show up, get to action, and get to work. So as Phil mentioned, we might have had I think we had 17 people at the event that actually volunteered and were working in the event, and it was just one thing done after another. What's next? Okay, we need this. Let's go get it so we can get this finished and move on and do more that we can do.
Jessica, for you again, it's a 4-hour drive. How did you get involved? I mean, how did you get involved with Mission? Go ahead. Continues Rochester.
Back to your earlier question, Louis, my pap always said, give Jessie an idea and she will run with it.
Mhm.
Yes.
And I connected with Jeff when he came out to the 3-8 20-year Marine Corps reunion from my high school friend, Diddle Tatum. And he told me what he was involved with and what that meant. And I've been working with the AMVETS for years, and and helping establish things, and watching Jan go from behind the registration desks, and her husband was past national commander, and when it came time, I was there at the national convention when she was elected and nominated by the consensus overwhelmingly to run AMVETS. And because of COVID, she actually got 2 years out of it. So, just always staying involved, and I will travel anywhere to accomplish the mission that I'm going to continue. So now there's just a shirt that goes with my slogan anyway. So
we are so blessed that she caught the spirit for this, Louis. I mean, I obviously saw right away how much potential and how amazing Jessica is, and I was like, if you want to run with this, poof, I am definitely not going to get in your way at all. And she's been a fantastic help in all kinds of ways.
She is amazing. Jessica
Yes.
is amazing. And I know I'm certainly honored to know her. Oh, don't get shy. For listeners, don't. She's getting shy.
And I don't mean to jump in here,
please.
Geoffrey deserves an incredible amount of attention here because of this. The only platoon that there was originally was in New York State, was all down in New York City. Darn near every borough had one. I think there's like maybe there's only three, but
No,
I
there's at least
had
five.
I had sort of disassociated myself with the mission continues for probably about 3 or 4 years, just because there was never anything close. What I'm surfing the internet one day, I find a Rochester mission continues platoon, and I'm like, okay, I got to find out about this. I got to jump in. I got to show up to a project. They had a project coming. I jumped in, and immediately me and Jeff are like, we've known each other for 45 years, and he's not even that old yet. Oh, but you know what I mean? Like, yeah, I mean, it was great. And I loved the way we did things. I love the way he uses his leadership, his position to hear everything. And then, I mean, it really makes it great for me because I just get to sit around and be like the old crusty warrior that's like an old first sergeant or something, because I get to worry about, okay, how are our people doing? How are our volunteers doing? Because I don't have to spend time worrying about the actual project, because he's got that stuff done. He's already thinking, 3 levels ahead where we're only 2. And that's where I know with Rochester, we have such an amazing advantage on the rest of these other platoons. And I just want, hey, I'm a little selfish. I want to make us the tip of the spear, and just continue to keep working till we get larger and larger. And hopefully one day we'd like to have one of those mass deployments in Rochester where we bring in the entire organization of the mission continues, because Lord knows we brought over, I think, like $150,000 into the Chicago inner city. Now imagine what that exchange rate would be for some of these smaller cities, for a Rochester, for, you name the smaller city. I'm not exactly sure where your region is right now, but, we've all got them. We've all got the cities and the areas that need help. Let's get off our butts as veterans and get out there and get crap done. But anyway, I'll stop with the motivational stuff, and thank you for
That's
just
cool.
giving me my time.
Oh,
And Louis,
go ahead.
I may jump in at this point
Yeah,
to say, I mean,
please,
you
just
obviously
jump
just
in.
heard that these are the people I have in my platoon. These are the people that I have in my platoon. I mean, I'm blessed with Phil. He was one of the very first. Him and his partner Elizabeth were the first people to jump on. They've been the lifeblood of this platoon, really. 100%. We argue because we're passionate about it sometimes, but it's I know that they breathe this stuff, so it's been such a blessing to get to know Phil and Elizabeth, and yeah, I'll
Jeff, when
leave
you
it.
say that, you can argue, and that's something, and I don't want to get into a whole thing on this. It's just that this unfriending, or you can't have a lively argument, disagreement. And, the hope is always, maybe I can bring you my way a little bit. Maybe you'll bring me your way a little bit. We'll meet in the middle. The whole environment today and I'm not going to get political. 2016, it was just awful. If you voted for Hillary, unfriend me. If you voted for Trump, unfriend me. And I also, I know I've got, friends on Facebook you may have relationships with, and you may not. But this whole idea of, so you voted for someone, or you see things differently or feel different, therefore I won't be your friend. I mean, the disagreements, those little things is where a lot of growth can happen. Yeah. And I just, that attitude today is just, it's disturbing. I'm sorry to go off on that. It's just disturbing. So I like to hear that you have obviously peaceful arguments. Well, I don't know. You tell me, Jim.
Honestly, with the military stuff, I don't even know if it real with the military connection. I don't even know if it really has to be a polite disagree.
Okay.
Like you know, I'm an incredibly passionate person. Geoffrey's an incredibly passionate person. I'm
Just
sure when we talk, it can be kind of louder sometimes, or if we disagree with something. But the thing is, the communication process never stops, even though we may be explaining that, look, you're really on my last nerve right now.
Yeah.
We're still going to hear what the other person is saying. And the only thing that really matters is getting the Fargan uh, job done, you
Yeah.
know?
But at least
So it's
you're open to listening. And one of the things,
right.
and my regular audience knows where I'm going to go with this. I remember, and I'm the old guy, I hear many decades. You could walk into a bar and two guys would be swearing at each other, screaming at each other. And if you were new at that bar, didn't know what was going on, you might say, we better get a couple bouncers. One of these guys is going to slug the other. 5 minutes later, they're hugging. Hey, I picked up the tab. You pick it. And again, that's not the ideal way to have a discussion either. It didn't unfriend you because,
exactly.
it can be lively. It can be lively. Like I hear, Phil, you and Jeff, your disagreements.
Well, I can't lie. I am the lively one. I am the uber
He's the life of the party.
passionate. I'm I'm the one that you have to sometimes grab the stage hook and just sort of pull him back a little.
Not really.
Be like,
no, Jeff. No,
he's better than that. He's
okay, then good. I'm good at disguising it then. Oh, but thank you.
You think it's your idea.
Right.
Well, I find all. Go ahead.
I was just going to add, it's a wonderful leadership dynamic. Louis, I've been on with you for years, and I've worked with and trained leaders and have learned from mentors and leadership from across the country in some of the best of their fields in the tax industry and the financial industry. And I will travel for finding the best that's aligned with what I'm after. And when Jeff and I first sat down and had that conversation, his leadership is always going to instill the best conversation to get people on board with what's going to best suit, because he's had the experience, he knows, and he does defer to in areas where people have skills, he'll ask questions and he'll still make the best decision with all the information. So there's a reason why I travel back and forth to Rochester. Rochester's definitely growing on me, and Jeff's leadership and vision, even a year ago, I could see what was in his heart, and with what the group can do, for not just Rochester, but people all over.
I love how the three of you are always heaping praise on the other ones. It's beautiful. Seriously, it's beautiful. It really is. Obviously, that synergy is great. I'm sorry, Jeff.
No, I was gonna say I encourage support, especially in this day and age.
It's
I'm not a fan of cancel culture either.
It's wonderful. It really is. It's the Mission Continues, missioncontinues.org. Obviously, social media also. And just go to the homepage at missioncontinues.org. I've got the links up at louisfreeshow.com, wfmj.com. Just go directly to missioncontinues.org. Jessica, as always, what an honor to do the gig with you again. And Jeff, great connecting with you. And Phil, I would love to catch up with you. You've got another project. You said next week. You're correct.
Next weekend we'll be going. This Sunday we'll be going back to that the Pamela and Trenton Arts Center. We've got probably like maybe 20 minutes of not hard work to do, and then we're going to have a little like 9/11 presentation. Also, don't forget the most important thing: search up the Rochester platoon, because we'll take everybody, and we and ultimately you were talking about that constant sharing of love and support. That is one of the most important things you can do to your volunteers. If you are sharing that love, if you are sharing that excitement, you are passing on that energy and emotion to everybody you're working with. and then that becomes that standard operating procedure. So when we're out, everybody else is open, everybody else is happy, everybody else is sharing and loving, and then you get 100 times more things done.
It's a love
So
fest. I love that. I love that. Like this morning, I've enjoyed getting to know you again, Phil and Jeff and Jessica, as always. So let's catch up down the road a little bit about.
Yep.
oh
Throw one thing in.
definitely.
No, go ahead. Go
Facebook,
ahead.
The Mission Continues, Rochester, New York, and Rochester Veterans. Find us there, please. That's it.
The Facebook. Yeah.
Yes.
I'm going to get a link up directly to the Facebook one also.
Perfect.
And I guess the last thing that I guess I could mention, Louis, is, you know, when we die, we have 6 to 8 pallbearers to carry our body out. And if people can find 6 or 8 people that can raise them up to be the best person that they can, and you can tell those people, you know, exactly how you feel in that moment, you know, that's what life is about. It's not about living your life to die. It's about living to thrive and being able to connect with one another and just be able to help raise each other up. So
Beautiful. Thank you all. Let's catch up.
No, thank you
Thank
very
you for
much.
having
Of
us,
course,
Louis.
anytime.
Truly my honor. Truly my honor. Ladies and gentlemen, again, the links are up, but you can go directly